They say we were gods once. Before the Variks crushed our civilization under their chitinous feet, the Lirathi spanned 17 star systems, built megastructures that harvested the energy of suns, and lived in gleaming cities that danced among the clouds. Our bodies, slender, graceful, with iridescent skin that rippled with neural light patterns, were considered the pinnacle of evolution throughout the galactic concord. I've only seen recordings of our homeworld, Lyra Prime. Born on a refugee transport ship 3 years after the fall, all I've ever known is exile. My father, Commander Marcus Taylor, human name, Lirathi Soul, sometimes activates the hollow crystals when the darkness of space seems to press too heavily against our viewport. The images flicker to life, crystal spires rising 10 kilometers into the atmosphere, suspended by gravitic fields our scientists had perfected millennia before any other species had discovered nuclear fission. Aerial gardens where flora from 100 worlds merged into cascading rainbows of vegetation. The Great Archive, where the collective knowledge of 1,000,000 years of peaceful technological advancement was stored. All gone now, reduced to radioactive glass. They couldn't stand our prosperity, my father whispers, his voice cracking as he deactivates the hollow crystal. His pale blue skin, once luminous with pride, has faded to a dull grey. The neural patterns beneath barely pulse anymore. The Variks called us decadent, said we'd grown weak in our contentment. But they wanted what we had. Our technology, our resources, our worlds. Our fleet was magnificent, but ceremonial. We hadn't fought a war in 50,000 years. The Variks struck without warning, their swarm ships darkening the skies above our colony worlds. Their queens had planned the genocide for centuries while smiling at our diplomats across negotiating tables. Of 17 billion Lirathi, fewer than 10,000 survived. 3 refugee ships escaped the slaughter, scattering in different directions. Ours carried exactly 212 souls when we fled. Now we are... The Cygnus, once a luxury passenger liner retrofitted for deep space, has been our home for 12 years. Its once gleaming corridors are stained with leaked hydraulic fluid. Life support operates at 63% efficiency. The food synthesizers can only produce a grey protein paste that tastes vaguely of chemicals. Another junction failure in Sector 7, Dr. Wilson announces as he enters the bridge. His human name belies the shimmering patterns of distress visible beneath his translucent skin. We've rerouted power, but we're running out of functional circuits to cannibalize. My father nods, his captain's facade never cracking despite the neural patterns of despair that ripple across his chest. I can read our people's emotions. It's a skill all Lirathi children develop, but humans wouldn't see the signal. How long? He asks. 3 months, maybe 4 if we shut down non-essential systems. The unspoken truth hangs in the recycled air. We are dying, not just as individuals, but as a species. We've been rejected by every civilization we've encountered. Former trading partners, who once welcomed our merchant vessels, now turn particle cannons on our wounded ship, not out of malice, but fear. The Variks hunt us still, and any world that shelters Lirathi refugees invites their wrath. We've picked up an anomalous signal, our navigator says, her voice carrying the faintest note of hope. Appears to be artificial, but the pattern doesn't match any known species in our database. My father straightens, the neural lights across his face brightening slightly. Origin? 3rd planet, yellow star. G-class main sequence. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. High gravity, 1.3 standard units. Significant radiation levels. A death world, Dr. Wilson mutters. Primitive species don't survive those conditions. I exchange glances with my father. We're desperate enough that even a primitive species might be our last hope. Plot course, my father commands. Standard observation protocols. We'll maintain high orbit and assess potential for contact. 3 days later, we arrive at the edge of the system. Our sensors immediately detect thousands of artificial satellites orbiting the 3rd planet, along with primitive space stations and evidence of recent landings on their moon. Technologically advanced, but pre-FTL, Dr. Wilson reports. Scrolling through sensor data, they're broadcasting everything. Music, news, entertainment. No encryption, no security. They're practically shouting into the void. Can we intercept their communications? My father asks. The view screen flickers to life, showing images of the dominant species, bipedal, endoskeletal, with a diverse range of skin pigmentations from pale beige to deep brown. They move with startling speed and purpose. They call themselves humans, our linguist reports after analyzing their broadcasts, and they call their planet Earth. Humans? I ask, the word feeling strange on my tongue. Like our adopted names? My father shakes his head. Pure coincidence. We chose human names because they were common among spacefaring species, easy for others to pronounce. We watch their broadcasts for hours. They fight each other constantly, over territory, resources, ideologies. They build weapons of terrifying, destructive power. They seem to thrive on conflict. We can't approach them, Dr. Wilson insists. They're too aggressive, too unpredictable. They dissect us for scientific curiosity. But before my father can respond, alarms blare throughout the ship. Barracks signatures detected, our tactical officer shouts. 3 hunter ships approaching from the system's edge. Terror freezes my blood. We've been found. Evasive maneuvers, my father commands, but we all know the Cygnus can barely maintain standard propulsion, let alone outrun Varax hunters. They're broadcasting targeting signals, the tactical officer reports grimly. Weapons. Charge detected. This is it. After 12 years of running, we've reached the end. My father makes the only choice left to him. Emergency landing protocols. Set course for the human world. Sir, Dr. Wilson protests. We know nothing about them. They could be worse than the Varax. We're dead if we stay here, my father replies, his neural patterns pulsing with grim determination. At least on the surface, we might buy some time. As our damaged ship plunges toward the blue-green planet, alarms screaming and hull integrity failing, I look out at the approaching world of these humans, a species so primitive they haven't even left their solar system, yet fierce enough to evolve on a radiation-soaked death world with crushing gravity. Perhaps, I think as our ship burns through their atmosphere, these primitives might surprise us all. The Cygnus didn't so much land as it surrendered to Earth's gravity. I remember tumbling through darkness as emergency systems failed one by one, the ship's artificial gravity giving out in sections. My father's voice cutting through the chaos, ordering everyone to the escape pods. The screaming of metal as our hull broke apart in the atmosphere. Our final count. 242 survivors. 45 Lirathi lost in the landing. The humans found us scattered across what they called New Mexico, a desert region on their North American continent. I expected dissection tables and imprisonment. Instead, they brought medical teams, translators, diplomats. A human military officer named General Jackson made first contact with my father. Through improvised sign language and crude drawings, they established basic communication before our translation matrices could fully analyze the human languages. They're curious, my father told our huddled group in the makeshift camp the humans had established around our largest escape pod. Not hostile, yet. Within days, we learned enough of their primary languages to explain our situation. To my astonishment, they believed their scientists were ecstatic to meet an advanced alien species, their military officials concerned about the Varax threat, their politicians calculating the advantages of alien technology. We can offer technical knowledge, my father proposed during a tense meeting with human leaders. The neural patterns beneath his skin flashed rapid sequences of anxiety and hope. Renewable energy systems, medical advances, material science, anything that won't upset your societal development too severely. In exchange for sanctuary, asked President Thompson, a stern-faced female human with grey-streaked hair, and protection, my father added quietly. The Varax will come. 3 months passed in a whirlwind of cultural exchange. The humans provided us with a secluded compound in their desert, where we could adjust to Earth's punishing gravity and radiation levels. In return, we began sharing carefully selected technological insights. Dr. Wilson objected initially. We're violating every principle of non-interference, he argued during council meetings. These humans are barely a Type 1 civilization. They still fight wars over fossil fuels and invisible borderlines. We have no choice, my father countered, and they're advancing faster than any species I've studied. They've gone from atmospheric flight to space exploration in less than a century. I was assigned as liaison to a human scientific team led by Dr. Sarah Marshall, a quantum physicist whose mind worked at speeds that rivaled our best thinkers. Her questions never ceased, her understanding seeming to expand exponentially. "Your people achieved peace for 50,000 years, she remarked one evening as we sat atop the research facility, watching the sunset paint the desert in shades of orange and purple. "We can't go 50 years without a major conflict. Perhaps that was our weakness," I replied, surprising myself with the thought. "We forgot how to fight. We thought prosperity alone ensured security." Sarah studied me, her dark eyes reflecting the fading light. "And we fight too readily, forgetting that peace is the ultimate goal." "Maybe we need each other," I suggested. The humans fascinated me. Their short lives burned with an intensity I'd never witnessed among my people. They created art from tragedy, found humor in their pain, loved fiercely despite knowing loss was inevitable. They were contradictions, capable of both tremendous cruelty and breathtaking compassion, often within the same individual. And they were physically remarkable. Earth's harsh conditions had forged them into natural warriors. They could run for hours without rest, lift twice their body weight, survive injuries that would kill a Lirathi, and adapted to almost any environment on their variable planet. My father noticed my growing admiration. "Don't romanticize them," he warned, his neural patterns showing concern. "They're helping us because we're useful. If that changes..." But I saw more than utility in our growing relationship. The humans began incorporating elements of Lirathi culture into their own. Our musical techniques, our architectural principles, even attempting our neural light communication through technological means. In turn, we found ourselves drawn to human resilience, their creativity, their capacity for renewal after tragedy. For the first time since the fall of our civilization, we began to hope. Then, the warning came. Our long-range sensors, integrated with Earth's primitive detection systems, identified Varex signatures entering the solar system. Not the 3 hunter ships we'd fled from, a full battle group. 8 destroyer-class vessels, 2 queen carriers, and dozens of support craft. "They're not coming just for us," my father said grimly during the emergency council meeting with human military leaders. "This is an invasion force." General Jackson's weathered face remained impassive. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks at their current velocity, perhaps less if they accelerate. The humans immediately began preparations. Military units mobilized worldwide, scientists worked frantically to adapt our technology to their defensive systems, and politicians struggled to inform Earth's populace without causing panic. But the truth settled like a stone in my stomach. It wouldn't be enough. Humanity had courage and ingenuity, but their technology was simply too primitive. The Varax would glass their cities as they had ours, harvest their resources, and move on to the next world. "We have to leave," Dr. Wilson insisted during our private council. "The humans have 3 colony outposts on Mars. They've offered us transport there where we could hide while the Varax focus on Earth." "Abandon them?" I challenged, neural patterns flashing with anger. "Be realistic," he countered. "We number 40T. Earth's population is 8 billion. Even if every one of us dies fighting alongside them, it won't change the outcome." My father remained silent, his neural patterns turbulent with conflicting emotions. "We should never have come here," another council member lamented. "We've doomed them as we doomed ourselves." The weight of shame pressed down on me, heavier than Earth's gravity. We had brought annihilation to the only species that had shown us kindness. That night, I found my father alone in our quarters, studying ancient tactical displays from Lirathi military archives, knowledge untouched for 50 millennia. "We're leaving, aren't we?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Dr. Wilson is right," he said quietly. "Our presence here only guarantees Earth's destruction. If we go, perhaps the Varax will be satisfied with capturing us." "They won't," I said. "You know that. They'll take this world regardless." His neural patterns flashed acknowledgement of this truth. "We have no other choice." The following day, my father announced our decision to General Jackson and President Thompson. I stood behind him, watching the humans' expressions shift from disbelief to understanding, to something harder. "So that's it?" General Jackson asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "You'll run while we face your enemies alone?" "We've provided all the technical specifications we can," my father explained, his neural patterns betraying his shame despite his controlled voice. "Your scientists have adapted our shield designs to your power systems. It's the best we can offer." President Thompson studied us for a long moment. When do you plan to depart? Tomorrow, my father answered. We've begun preparations. The meeting ended with cold formality. As we turned to leave, Sarah caught my arm in the corridor outside. You're really going? She demanded, eyes flashing with anger and hurt. We have to, I said, unable to meet her gaze. Our presence guarantees your destruction. Your absence guarantees nothing, she countered. The Varax are coming regardless, aren't they? I couldn't lie to her. Most likely. Then why not stand with us? Why not fight? Because we're not warriors, I admitted. We never were. Sarah's expression hardened. Neither were we, until we needed to be. At dawn, as we prepared to board the human transport vessels bound for Mars, President Thompson requested my father's presence for a final meeting. I accompanied him to the command center, where Earth's highest military and political leaders had gathered. We've been monitoring Virax communications, General Jackson began without preamble. They're broadcasting their intentions openly. They've designated Earth a resource world. They plan to eliminate the indigenous population, all of us, and strip mine the planet. My father's neural patterns flashed with grief but not surprise. I'm sorry. We're not accepting your evacuation plan, President Thompson stated flatly. What? My father's patterns shifted to confusion. Earth stands with the Larathi people, she continued. We will fight together or fall together, but we will not send you away to save ourselves. That's our final decision. The room fell silent. I stared at these humans, these primitives we had once looked down upon, who now offered themselves as shields for our dwindling race. Why? My father asked finally. You know what the Varax are capable of. General Jackson stepped forward, his voice firm. Because that's what humans do. We don't abandon our friends, even when the odds are impossible. For the first time in my life, I saw my father's neural patterns display something I had never witnessed in any Larathi, a fierce primal determination that mirrored the human's own. Then, he said slowly, perhaps it's time we learned how to fight. The Varax arrived on Earth's doorstep with the absolute certainty of predators who had never known defeat. We watched them from the Joint Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains as their ships positioned themselves in high orbit. Their formation was familiar, the same tactical pattern they'd used to destroy our homeworld. 8 destroyer-class vessels arranged in an attack constellation, with 2 queen carriers holding position at strategic distances. From these would come the swarm fighters, tens of thousands of them, blanketing the skies before the ground invasion. They're sending a communication, announced the human signals officer. The main screen flickered, revealing the mantis-like features of Supreme Commander Krazatal, his chitinous faceplates gleaming under harsh ship lighting. Humans of Earth, he began, mandibles clicking between words. You harbor criminals against the Varax Imperium. Surrender the Larathi refugees immediately and accept your designation as a resource world. Resistance. General Jackson cut the transmission with a gesture. Yeah, we've heard that speech before. You should have let him finish, Dr. Wilson objected. Why? Jackson asked. So he could tell us resistance is futile. We know the odds. He turned to my father. Are our modifications to the satellite grid ready? My father nodded, neural patterns pulsing with a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. The Larathi shield harmonics have been integrated with your nuclear power plants. They won't hold forever against Varax weaponry, but they'll buy us time. Time was all we had. In the 2 weeks since detecting the Varax approach, humans had showcased an ability to mobilize that left us staggered. Military units worldwide had repositioned according to our tactical suggestions. Civilian populations had been evacuated from coastal regions and major cities into underground shelters. Industrial facilities had retooled overnight to mass-produce weapons, incorporating Larathi energy principles. They're launching swarm fighters, reported the tactical officer. Estimated 30,000 units deploying. Activate the shield grid, President Thompson ordered. Across the planet, retrofitted power plants surged, channeling energy into the satellite network. A shimmering dome of translucent energy enveloped the Earth, visible from our sensor displays as a faint blue barrier. The Varax fighters hit the shield like a metallic tsunami. Thousands detonated on impact, their pilots sacrificed as living projectiles to test our defenses. The shield fluctuated but held. They didn't expect that, I said, watching the displays. They're recalculating. Their recalibration came in the form of concentrated energy beams from the destroyer vessels, targeting specific nodes in our shield network. Satellites began failing in cascading sequences. Shield integrity at 68% and dropping, reported a technician. We have breaches forming over the Pacific and Atlantic. General Jackson activated the Global Command Channel. All forces, this is Eagle Actual, implement Thunderbolt protocol. I repeat, implement Thunderbolt. Across Earth, hidden missile batteries activated, launching thousands of retrofitted nuclear weapons, not toward the Varax fleet, but into precisely calculated positions in Earth's upper atmosphere. The simultaneous detonations created an electromagnetic pulse of unprecedented magnitude, engulfing the approaching swarm fighters. The Varax, so technologically sophisticated, had evolved beyond hardened electronics. Their neural control systems, biological machine interfaces, went haywire. We watched in astonishment as nearly 20,000 fighters tumbled from the sky, their pilots neurotically overloaded. "My God," breathed President Thompson, "it worked." But the Varax adapted quickly. The remaining fighters pulled back to the carriers for recalibration while the destroyers adjusted their attack path. "They're targeting our ground-based shield generators now," my father observed. "More precise." One by one, power plants across the globe were hit with surgical strikes. The planetary shield collapsed in sections until it flickered out completely. 3 hours after the battle began, Earth lay exposed. "Second wave incoming," announced the tactical officer grimly. This time, 10,000 fighters made it through, screaming toward population centers and military installations. Human aircraft rose to meet them, primitive jet fighters against gravitic engines, ballistic missiles against particle beams. It was slaughter, but not the kind the Varax expected. For every 100 human aircraft destroyed, they took down a Varax fighter through sheer numbers and suicidal determination. Pilots deliberately rammed alien craft when their weapons were depleted. Ground batteries fired continuously despite being targeted. Military bases continued operations even while being obliterated. "They're not surrendering," I heard a Larathi observer whisper in disbelief. "Why aren't they surrendering?" From the command center, we watched the battle unfold across a dozen fronts simultaneously. The Varax landed their first ground forces in what humans called Europe, expecting to establish beachheads for their main invasion. They found no easy conquest. Human soldiers fought with a ferocity that shocked even the battle-hardened Varax. They used terrain to ambush alien units. They sacrificed themselves to delay advances. They fought house to house in cities, street by street, building by building. "We're losing," Dr. Wilson stated flatly, watching casualties mount across the displays. "We're just losing more slowly than expected." My father's neural patterns flashed disagreement. "They're not fighting to win a conventional war. They're fighting to exhaust the Varax's patience." I understood then the humans' strategy, born from millennia of their own wars. They couldn't match Varax technology, so they were making victory so costly that it became functionally identical to defeat. 7 days into the invasion, with human military forces reduced to 30% strength and Varax firmly controlling major territories on 3 continents, the unexpected occurred. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're detecting new ships entering the system." Not Varax signatures. The sensor display showed 5 massive vessels decelerating at the system's edge. Their design was immediately recognizable to me. The distinctive spiral configurations of Nexari dreadnoughts. "The Nexari Consortium," my father breathed, neural patterns pulsing with shock. "They were our trading partners before the fall. They refused us sanctuary." The Nexari wasted no time with communications. Their dreadnoughts accelerated toward Earth, weapons systems activating as they approached. "Are they here to help the Varax finish us off?" General Jackson asked grimly. Before anyone could answer, 3 more ship clusters appeared from different vectors. The crystalline hives of the Morden Collective, the blade-shaped cruisers of the Tal Shir Republic, and the spherical carriers of the Jundari Dominion. "All former Galactic Concord members," my father explained, his voice tight. "All refused to intervene when the Varax attacked our worlds." We watched in stunned silence as these forces converged on Earth, not to join the Varax assault, but to engage it. The Nexari dreadnoughts opened fire on the destroyer constellation, breaking their formation. The Tal Shir cruisers deployed fighter screens that intercepted the remaining Varax swarms. The modern crystalline ships positioned themselves above Earth's atmosphere, extending energy barriers over human population centers. "They're helping us?" President Thompson asked incredulously. No, my father replied, neural patterns showing bitter understanding. They're helping themselves. The Varaks have been expanding aggressively since our fall. These species aren't here out of altruism. They're using Earth as a battlefield to finally confront a common enemy. Does it matter why they're here? General Jackson countered. Let's use the opportunity. The battle in orbit shifted dramatically. The Varaks, caught between Earth's determined defense and the combined fleet of 4 advanced civilizations, found themselves in an unprecedented tactical dilemma. For the first time in their expansionist history, they were outmatched. Supreme Commander Krazatel attempted to retreat, ordering his ground forces to withdraw, but the humans, sensing the shift in momentum, launched devastating counterattacks against vulnerable extraction points. 3 days later, it was over. The Varaks fleet lay in ruins, their queen carriers captured, their ground forces surrounded and forced to surrender. The predators had become prey. In the aftermath, as Earth counted its grievous losses and began rebuilding, the Nexari ambassador requested an audience with human leadership. My father and I attended the meeting in what remained of the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. The Nexari consortium acknowledges Earth as a sovereign power. The ambassador announced, his tentacled face impassive. As do the Talshir, the Morden, and the Jindari. We propose formal diplomatic relations and trade agreements. Why now? President Thompson asked directly. You watched the Varaks destroy the Lirathi. You rejected their refugees. What changed? The ambassador's translucent skin flushed with what I recognized as embarrassment. The Lirathi were peaceful for too long. We assumed humans would be the same, that you would fall quickly and the Varaks would be weakened enough by the effort for us to contain them afterward. You miscalculated, General Jackson stated flatly. Profoundly, agreed the ambassador. No species has ever resisted the Varaks as humans have. Your victory has reconfigured the political landscape of this sector. The Galactic Concord is being reconstituted, and Earth is invited as a founding member. After the diplomats departed, my father and I stood on the building's damaged observation deck, looking out over the scarred landscape of what had once been a magnificent human city. We were wrong about them, he said quietly. We thought them primitive because their technology was undeveloped. We didn't understand that true advancement isn't measured in technological achievement. His neural patterns showed a complex emotion I'd never seen in a Lirathi before, a mixture of humility, admiration, and hope. 50,000 years of peace made us complacent, he continued. We forgot that civilization must sometimes be defended with force. The humans never forgot. 6 months later, as Earth's reconstruction accelerated with the help of alien technology, my father was invited to address the reformed United Nations. I stood proudly in the audience as he spoke. The Lirathi and humans are now bound together by blood and sacrifice, he declared. We offer our knowledge, our history, our remaining culture. You have given us something far more precious, a future. As I watched human and Lirathi engineers working side by side, rebuilding cities with a blend of both civilizations' architectural principles, I understood the truth. The Lirathi Golden Age hadn't ended with the fall of our homeworld. It had been merely a prelude to something greater. In the training facilities across Earth, I saw human instructors teaching young Lirathi the art of combat, while Lirathi scientists helped humans unlock the secrets of faster-than-light travel. Our neural patterns had begun to adapt, displaying emotions we had never needed during our long peace: determination, righteous anger, courage. The humans were changing too, tempering their aggression with our sense of harmony, learning to balance their warrior instincts with wisdom accumulated over 1,000,000 years. Together, we were becoming something unprecedented in the galaxy, a civilization with both the will to fight and the wisdom to know when not to. Predator and prey, warrior and scholar, human and Lirathi, distinctions that no longer defined us. We had become something new, something stronger, something that would endure.